Have you ever wondered why some people seem to grow lonelier as they age while others stay surrounded by love and connection? It's not just about wrinkles or slowing down. As we get older, we all pick up habits, small, sneaky ones that quietly push people away, damage relationships, and make life harder than it needs to be. The scariest part? Most of us don't even realize we're doing them until it's too late. But here's the good news, you can change them. In this video, we're diving deep into the ugly habits no one talks about, the ones that creep into your life and steal your joy, your health, and your closeness with others. You'll meet Julie, a 71-year-old retired librarian whose story reveals how these habits took hold and how she turned it all around. Why watch until the end? Because we're uncovering 9 surprising traps that could be affecting you or someone you love right now, plus simple, practical fixes to break free. Number 7 will shock you. It's the one most people miss until it costs them dearly. By the end, you'll get a challenge that could transform your life starting today. Stick around to discover how to spot these habits before they take over, how to rebuild connections you thought were lost, and how to age with purpose instead of regret. If you've ever felt disconnected, stuck, or just curious about what's holding you back, this is for you. Hit that like button to subscribe and let's get started, because the longer you wait, the harder it gets to change. If you're not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading these valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1, and if not, comment 0 so I know how to improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. Number 1, becoming too negative or critical. Sarah never imagined she'd become the type of person who harbored negativity. She always thought of herself as someone who simply spoke her mind and was honest with those around her. But as the years slipped by, she noticed something shifting within her. It was subtle at first, just a small sigh here, a fleeting complaint there, but eventually it became a pattern she couldn't ignore. Mornings started with familiar aches and pains of aging, and she'd mutter to herself about getting older. It seemed like a harmless grumble, didn't it? Yet it soon bled into other parts of her day. She'd watch the news, frustration growing with every report, feeling overwhelmed by helplessness and anger about the state of the world. When she spoke to her younger relatives, her words turned sharp. "Back in my day, we had more respect," she'd say with a roll of the eyes, as if the youth were somehow failing her generation. At first, she didn't notice the toll it was taking on her relationships. It seemed harmless enough, just honest opinions, right? But slowly, conversations became shorter. Friends began avoiding deep talks, instinctively steering clear of topics they knew would lead to another rant. Even her grandkids, once eager to visit, began making excuses not to spend time with her. What Sarah couldn't see was the slow and insidious drain of negativity. No matter how justified, no one wants to leave a conversation feeling worse than when they arrived. The truth is, negativity acts like a weight, pulling people down, making them recoil instead of connect. The reality is, it's easy to slip into a cycle of criticism, and without awareness, it can quietly sabotage your relationships and your happiness. But recognizing this is the first step toward change. Life can feel overwhelming as the world changes around us, especially when things don't always make sense or feel comfortable. Our bodies don't function the way they used to, and things that were once second nature like shopping, driving, or even using a smartphone can suddenly become sources of frustration. Venting about it can feel like a release, but when negativity becomes your default mode, it becomes a shield that isolates you rather than a tool to process your emotions. So how do you shift this energy? Try starting your conversations with something positive instead of leading with complaints. Consider beginning with gratitude. "I woke up feeling good today," or "the sunset was so beautiful last night," and make that part of your daily reflections. Positive energy has a way of spreading. It's magnetic. People are drawn to those who uplift them rather than weigh them down. And when you do need to vent, set limits. Give yourself a couple of minutes to express your frustrations, then move onto something more constructive. Curiosity is far more powerful than criticism. Ask questions, especially about things you don't understand. Instead of dismissing what your grandkids are into, whether it's an app or a game, try saying, "Tell me more about that." It creates connection rather than pushing them away. When Sarah started making these small changes leading with positivity, showing genuine interest in her grandkids' lives, and expressing gratitude more often. She noticed a remarkable shift. Conversations lasted longer, people began to open up again, and slowly, the warmth of connection that had been missing came rushing back. What she learned, painfully at first, was that the energy you put into the world is the energy you receive. If you want connection, you have to give it. It starts with how you speak, how you show up in the world, and the way you choose to see it. Number 2, ignoring personal hygiene and appearance. There was a time when Sarah loved to dress up. She took pride in her appearance, always choosing the perfect outfit, applying her makeup just so, and ensuring her hair was styled perfectly before leaving the house. She had a collection of beautiful clothes, blouses in every color, and a signature scent she wore with confidence. But as the years went by, something began to change. It started with small things, skipping hair appointments or opting for comfortable, baggy clothes instead of the stylish outfits she used to wear. She began to ask herself, why bother? I'm not trying to impress anyone anymore. Over time, she found herself staying in her house clothes all day, rarely glancing in the mirror. She convinced herself it didn't matter. But deep down, something was shifting inside her. She started to feel different, and it wasn't just about how others saw her, it was about how she saw herself. Sarah began to notice the way people treated her. Strangers who used to compliment her bright outfits now barely made eye contact. Friends who once invited her out for lunch or to a movie started asking her to join less frequently. When Sarah looked at old photos of herself, she hardly recognized the vibrant woman she once was. Where had she gone? What happened to the woman who radiated joy and confidence? The truth she hadn't fully grasped was that how we present ourselves to the world affects not only how others perceive us, but also how we perceive ourselves. Personal appearance isn't about vanity, it's about self-respect, about honoring the person you are regardless of age. It's about showing up for yourself, about feeling good in your skin and saying, I matter. How do you reverse this? Start with small, manageable steps. Get dressed even if you're not going anywhere. Special. It doesn't have to be a designer outfit, just clean, well-fitted clothes that make you feel comfortable and good about yourself. Taking a shower, brushing your hair, trimming your nails, these small acts of care send a powerful message to yourself. I am worth this effort. Wearing something you love, something that brings you joy, can elevate your spirit. Those small details like a spritz of perfume or a favorite piece of jewelry can make all the difference. They remind you of who you are, the woman you've always been, and the one you're still becoming. When Sarah started paying attention to these simple habits, again brushing her hair, wearing her favorite blouse, even putting on a little lipstick, she noticed something magical happening. She started feeling lighter, more confident, and yes, even beautiful again. People began to smile at her when she walked into a room. She felt seen, and more importantly, she felt like herself again. It was as though the vibrant woman she thought she had lost was quietly returning, not just in the eyes of others, but in her own eyes as well. Number 3, becoming stubborn and resistant to change. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you're still here with me. Sarah had always prided herself on being someone who knew exactly what she liked and how she liked it. She was set in her ways, and that had always been her. Comfort zones are comfortable for a reason. Why change what's worked for decades? But when Sarah's children and grandchildren started communicating through text messages instead of phone calls, she resisted. I don't need to learn all that, she would say, dismissing their offers to teach her. If they want to talk to me, they can pick up the phone. But over time, those phone calls became fewer and fewer. Family updates, pictures, and birthday reminders arrived only. In group chats, she refused to join. She didn't realize it at first, but she was shutting herself off from the people she loved most. It wasn't just about technology, it was about staying connected, about being part of their lives, about love. But Sarah's stubbornness had begun to isolate her. The truth is, change is inevitable. Life moves forward, and it's easy to feel resistant when it seems like the world is leaving you behind. The trick, however, is to stay open. It's easy to say, I don't need that, but there's a quiet strength in saying, I'll try. Saying yes to change, no matter how small, keeps you engaged and sharp. You don't have to become an expert overnight. Start with small things. Let your grandchildren teach you how to send a text or watch a show they love. Instead of rejecting change, embrace it. You don't know what you're missing until you try. When Sarah finally let her granddaughter teach her how to text, she was surprised by how simple it was. What surprised her even more was the flood of connection she had been missing: daily photos of her great-grandkids, inside jokes, quick check-ins. That made her feel like she belonged. By letting go of her resistance, she embraced something far more valuable than new technology: connection. It wasn't just about learning to text. It was about staying in touch with the people who mattered most. And in doing so, she not only gained access to new ways of communicating, but also found a deeper sense of love and connection in her relationships. Number 4, hoarding and refusing to let go of clutter. Sarah had always been sentimental. To her, every item in her home held a story, a memory, a piece of the past she couldn't bear to part with. There were old birthday cards untouched for decades, stacks of newspapers she promised herself she'd read someday, and clothes she hadn't worn in years, but she kept them just in case. Over the years, her once cozy home, her peaceful sanctuary, had transformed into an overwhelming maze of things cluttering every corner, shelf, and room. She couldn't deny it anymore. What was once a haven had become a battlefield filled with items she barely touched but couldn't release. At first, Sarah didn't think there was a problem. She convinced herself that everything had value. I might need it someday, she'd say. It felt safe, comforting, even reassuring to keep it all. But in truth, the overwhelming clutter was suffocating the life out of her home, her peace, and her spirit. As time passed, she grew more exhausted just trying to clean and navigate through the piles. It became harder to keep her home in order, to find what she needed, and even to invite people over without feeling ashamed of the mess. Her once inviting space had become a reminder of how she'd become trapped in the past, unwilling to release what no longer served her. When her daughter gently suggested, maybe you should think about letting go of a few things, Sarah resisted with every fiber of her being. What if I need them later? She argued. But in reality, the clutter didn't just fill her home, it filled her mind. The stress of holding on to so much weight on her, blocking the joy of the present and clouding her peace of mind. It wasn't just about things. It was about the emotional baggage she'd accumulated along with them. Letting go is never easy, especially when it feels like a piece of your heart is tied to each object. But here's the truth. Holding on to too much, whether material possessions or emotional baggage, creates a sense of being stuck in the past, unable to move forward, unable to embrace the present. It's a silent thief that robs you of clarity and peace. Sarah finally realized that to feel free, she had to let go. Breaking free from clutter doesn't happen all at once. It requires patience, kindness toward yourself, and the courage to face the truth that you don't need everything you've been holding on to. How do you begin to break free from this overwhelming mess? Start small. Tackle one drawer, one shelf, or one box at a time. The thought of decluttering everything at once can feel insurmountable, but breaking it down into manageable chunks makes it bearable. Ask yourself, do I use this? Does it bring me joy? If the answer is no, then it's time to say goodbye. Donate items that can be useful to someone else, recycle what's no longer useful, or pass on meaningful things to family members who will cherish them. Turn decluttering into a habit, a simple everyday practice. Set a small goal, get rid of one item each day. This small but consistent action can lead to profound transformation over time. And let's not forget, the practical side: clutter doesn't just create mental stress. It can also be dangerous, increasing the risk of falls, accidents, and injuries. A home isn't just a place to live, it should be a place where you feel safe, at ease, and at peace. When Sarah finally took the plunge and decluttered, something magical happened. The weight lifted from her shoulders, and the transformation wasn't just physical. She donated clothes she hadn't worn in years, recycled old magazines, gathering dust, and organized her living space in a way that made it easier to find what truly mattered. And you know what? For the first time in years, Sarah felt peace in her home. It wasn't just cleaner. It was lighter, brighter, and more welcoming. She felt a new sense of freedom, a freedom that came from releasing the past and embracing the present. Most importantly, she found herself excited to invite friends over again, something she hadn't felt in so long. Number 5, losing patience with others too quickly. Sarah had never thought of herself as an impatient person. She'd always tried to be kind, understanding, and forgiving. But as time went on, she noticed small cracks appearing in her patience, tiny moments where irritation flared, and she lost control of her composure. One afternoon, she was at the grocery store standing in line with a cart full of items. The young cashier was taking his time, fumbling with the bags, and Sarah felt frustration building inside her. Why is he so slow? Can't he move a little faster? She thought, feeling her temper rise. The words escaped her lips before she could stop. Come on, can you hurry up? The moment she said it, she saw the cashier's face fall. He looked down, his hands trembling slightly as he tried to finish his task. That's when it hit her this young man was new, nervous, and doing his best. And here she was, snapping at him as if he were the cause of her stress. Immediately, a pang of guilt washed over her. Was she becoming the very person she used to dislike, the one quick to judge, quick to snap, and slow to show grace? The realization hit hard. As we grow older, it's easy to lose patience with others. Life moves at a different pace, and it's frustrating when the world around us doesn't move as quickly as we would like. But here's the truth. Impatience doesn't just make life harder for others, it makes it harder for us too. It raises our stress levels, clouds our judgment, and poisons our interactions with the people we encounter. So how do we learn to stay patient? To stay kind, especially when life feels like it's moving too slowly? The first step is simple. Pause before reacting. When irritation creeps in, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, is this worth getting upset over? Remind yourself that the slow driver might be someone's grandfather, and the cashier fumbling with the bags could be a student, just trying to do their best. A little patience goes a long way. The next time you feel frustration bubbling up, try shifting your perspective. Instead of snapping, offer a smile, a kind word, or a simple take your time. Sarah did this the next time she saw the same young cashier. She smiled, complimented him on his efforts, and told him he was doing a great job. His face lit up, and in that moment, Sarah realized just how powerful kindness can be. It doesn't take much to make someone's day or ease their burden. Patience, after all, isn't just a gift to others, it's a gift to ourselves. Choosing patience over frustration leads to less stress, better interactions, and a more peaceful heart. Number 6, over-talking and not listening. Sarah had always loved to talk. She had a wealth of stories to share, advice to give, and memories to relive. Over the years, she had become known as the storyteller in the family. But there was one problem: she didn't realize how often she dominated the conversations. One day, her daughter, who had been calling less and less, finally opened up. "I love talking to you, Mom," she said softly, "but sometimes I don't feel heard." Sarah was stunned. How had she not seen it? Her daughter continued, "It feels like our calls are all about you, and I never get to share what's on my mind." Sarah realized that every time they spoke, she would jump in with her own experiences, stories, and advice without even pausing to listen. The truth was, Sarah had become so focused on sharing her wisdom that she forgot to give her daughter the space to speak, to be heard. She had been talking but not really listening. As we age, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we have all the answers. We want to share our life's lessons, to impart the wisdom we've accumulated over the years. But if we don't take the time to listen, to truly hear our loved ones, we risk pushing them away. Sarah had to face the reality that in her desire to share, she had unintentionally isolated herself from the people she loved most. The key to better conversations is balance. Don't just talk, listen. If you've been speaking for a while, pause and ask, what about you? How have things been for you? Make a conscious effort to show genuine interest in what the other person is saying. Resist the urge to interrupt, even if you have a great story to tell. Give the other person the space to speak. Ask open-ended questions that invite real conversation. Instead of simply asking, "How are you?" try asking, "What's something exciting that happened this week?" The next time Sarah talked to her daughter, she made a conscious effort to listen. She asked more questions, gave her daughter the floor, and only offered advice when it was truly needed. The results were nothing short of amazing. Their conversations became longer, warmer, and more meaningful. Sarah learned that the best conversations aren't about talking more, they're about listening better. And in that simple act of listening, she rediscovered the beauty of connection. They laughed together. They bonded over something as simple as a video game strategy, something Sarah once brushed off as unimportant. But what she came to realize was this: the content didn't matter as much as the connection. By letting go of the need to correct or compare, Sarah opened a door that had been quietly closing. She stepped into Noah's world not to fix it or judge it, but simply to be part of it. And that changed everything, because the truth is, the quickest way to lose the younger generation is to belittle their experience. When we talk down, we talk past them. But when we show interest, we create space for real, lasting connection. Every time we say, "back in my day," we run the risk of sounding like we're erasing their day, their reality. But when we choose curiosity over criticism, we say, "I see you. I care about what matters to you. Let's share this moment." So what now? What do you do with these lessons? You reflect. You reset. And you begin again. Let's be honest, these habits, they're sneaky. They develop over years, sometimes decades, and often come from a place of fear, pain, or simple fatigue. But that doesn't mean you're stuck with them. You can change, just like Sarah did. She didn't flip a switch. Overnight, she made small, conscious shifts. She chose patience over anger, connection over pride, curiosity over criticism. And slowly, her life began to bloom again, not because she went backward, but because she moved forward with intention. Now, here's your challenge. Pick one habit from this video. Just one. Maybe it's letting go of clutter, or asking for help, or simply listening more than you speak. Then commit to changing it just for 1 week. Watch what happens. You might notice your relationships start to feel warmer. Conversations last longer. People begin to smile more when they see you. And that loneliness, that sense of drifting away, it starts to shrink, because here's the secret. Aging doesn't have to mean fading. It can mean flourishing. If you stay curious, if you stay open, if you choose connection, you're not alone. You're never too old. And it's never too late. Might be more than just aging. It could be a sign of anemia, thyroid issues, heart problems, or even depression. But if we dismiss it with a casual, "I'm just getting older," we risk missing the chance to catch something early, something treatable. Sarah was guilty of this too. When her joints began aching more than usual, she chalked it up to age. "It's just arthritis," she told herself without ever actually speaking to her doctor. But as weeks turned into months, her pain worsened. Tasks that used to take her minutes suddenly took hours. She began skipping outings, avoiding the stairs, even neglecting her beloved garden. It wasn't until her daughter insisted she see a specialist that Sarah finally agreed. The results? Yes, it was arthritis, but a specific kind that, if left untreated, could have led to permanent joint damage. With proper medication, physical therapy, and a few lifestyle adjustments, Sarah found relief. The aches didn't completely vanish, but her strength and mobility came back. Most importantly, she got her life back. So why do we ignore health issues? Fear. Sometimes we're scared of what we might find out. Pride. We don't want to admit we're vulnerable or feel like a kai. Burden. Resignation. We start believing it's normal to feel unwell as we age. But none of those are reasons to ignore the signs. In fact, catching something early is one of the most loving things you can do for yourself and for those who love you. How can you start prioritizing your health again? Listen to your body. That persistent pain, that lump, that change in vision or sleep, it matters. Keep your regular checkups. Annual physicals, screenings, blood work, these aren't chores, they're lifelines. Speak up. Don't minimize your symptoms, be honest with your doctor. If something doesn't feel right, push for answers. Make small daily changes. Hydrate, walk, stretch, eat balanced meals, rest. It's not about perfection, it's about care. And remember, taking care of. Your health is not selfish, it's the foundation of everything else. Your energy, your joy, your connection with others all flow from your well-being. Sarah's story is a reminder. When you stop ignoring the signs and start listening to your body, you don't just add years to your life, you add life to your years. So what's that one checkup you've been putting off? What pain have you been brushing aside? Make a commitment today, not out of fear, but out of love, because you matter to your family, to your friends, and most importantly, 2.11 subtle habits that quietly steal your joy as you age. And how to reclaim it. 1. Staying in your comfort zone for decades, Sarah stuck with what worked. She preferred phone calls over text, resisted new technology, and dismissed her family's offers to teach her how to text. If they want to talk to me, they can pick up the phone. she'd say. But gradually the phone calls stopped. Family updates and photos began appearing only in group chats Sarah refused to join. Without realizing it, she was shutting herself off from the people she loved most. It wasn't about technology. It was about connection. When Sarah finally let her granddaughter teach her to text, she was surprised by how simple it was, but even more surprised by how connected she began to feel. Quick check-ins, photos, jokes, daily life. She'd been missing so much. Saying yes to change, no matter how small, can bring us back into the heart of the lives we want to stay a part of, too. Hoarding and refusing to let go. Sarah's home told a story, shelves filled with old birthday cards, newspapers, clothes long unworn, each item a memory she couldn't let go. But over time, her cozy sanctuary became a cluttered maze, draining her energy and spirit. She said, "I might need it someday," but what she really needed was peace. The breakthrough came slowly. One drawer, one shelf, one box at a time. She began asking, "Does this bring me joy? Do I still need this?" As she let go of physical clutter, something else happened. Her mind cleared. Her spirit lightened. Her home felt peaceful again. And she felt free to welcome others and free to live in the present. 3. Losing patience. Too quickly, Sarah thought of herself as kind and patient. But one day, she snapped at a young cashier who was fumbling at the register. The look on his face, his hands trembling, made her heart sink. In that moment, she saw what impatience really does. It doesn't just hurt others, it hardens us. Sarah vowed to choose grace instead of frustration. She returned, smiled, and encouraged the young man. His whole posture changed. So did hers. Patience isn't just a gift to others, it's a gift to ourselves. 4. Talking. Without listening, Sarah loved sharing her stories and advice. But during one phone call, her daughter said something that stopped her cold. "Mom, sometimes it feels like you don't really hear me." That night, Sarah realized she'd been talking more than listening. She began asking questions. "What about you? How have you been?" She made space. The change in their conversations was immediate. Her daughter opened up. They laughed more. They connected deeply. True connection isn't just about talking. It's about listening with your heart. 5. Pushing people away instead of asking for help. Sarah was proud of her independence. Even as small tasks became harder, she refused offers for help. "No, thank you. I've got it." But she didn't. The loneliness she felt dragging that heavy bag up the steps was heavier than the bag itself. When she finally accepted help from a kind young man who offered, it changed everything. She felt seen, valued, connected. Asking for help isn't weakness, it's courage. It invites love. In point 6. Being too frugal to enjoy life. Sarah saved diligently her whole life. She skipped trips, delayed pleasures, and always worried, what if I need this money later? But then her friend invited her on a weekend getaway. Sarah hesitated. Then she said yes. That weekend brought more laughter and joy than she'd felt in years. The sunsets, the shared meals, the memories, they reminded her what all the saving was for. Life is for living. Enjoying the fruits of your labor isn't indulgence, it's honoring your heart. Work. 7. Talking down to younger generation. Sarah adored her grandson Noah, but one day she dismissed his excitement over a new app. "Back in my day, we didn't need all this tech," she sighed. Noah grew quiet. The moment passed and so did the connection. Later, Sarah realized her words had shut a door. The next time Noah visited, she said, "That sounds interesting. Show me how it works." And just like that, they bonded through his world, not hers. Respect builds bridges. Curiosity opens doors. 8. Holding on to grudges and regrets. Grudges are heavy. They steal joy and cloud the present. Sarah carried some for years, quiet hurts, old regrets. Then one day she sat down with a sheet of paper. She wrote it all out. The anger, the disappointment, the pain, and she let it go. Forgiveness isn't about others, it's about freedom. It's not weakness, it's peace. 9. Ignoring health problems. Dizziness, fatigue, aches. Sarah ignored them all until a fall sent her to the ER. It was a wake-up call. She started drinking more water, moving more, seeing her doctor regularly. Slowly, she felt stronger. In control again. Don't wait until it's too late. Listen to your body. Preventive care is self-love in action. 10. Forgetting how to have Fun Sarah's days had grown predictable, safe, but when her friend Emily invited her over for a movie night, she said yes. That night, Sarah laughed so hard she cried. Laughter is medicine. Joy is strength. It's not just something that happens, it's something we choose. The next morning, she danced in her kitchen. Just because she could dot 11. Believing it's too late to change, Sarah once believed her habits. Her choices and her way of life were set in stone. But each of these moments proved something powerful. It's never too late to change, to grow, to connect, to live. Final reflection. So, what about you? Which of these lessons speaks to your heart today? Is it the call to let go of past pain? The nudge to prioritize your health? Or the reminder to invite joy back in? Choose just one small change. And begin, because life is still happening. And you deserve to be part of it.